Coffee with Coach. On a typical pre-pandemic Sunday morning, 20% of the people nationwide attended worship at a ranch-sized church. Why? What makes them so attractive? And how do you lead such a church? That's our subject for today. What can you learn from the ranch? I'm Steve Petty, and I have 3 goals for these videos: to help you become a better pastor and leader, to save you time and money, and to help educate, motivate, and energize you to motivate and energize your church. So, the problem is, how can we understand the nature of our church so that we can lead it appropriately? The basic idea for this series on understanding your church comes from the 1984 book, Looking in the Mirror by Lyle Schaller. The book is old. The leadership concepts and the shifts from one size church to the next are critical to understanding even to this day. So I've updated them, and I'm happy to share them with you. If you find these videos helpful, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. And if you have any questions or comments, you can add them below or email me at steve@revstevep.com. As we mentioned last week, it's very hard to grow a church through the 450 a week average attendance barrier to the next size. The ranch-sized church averages 450 to 1,000 people in attendance. And while it represents just over 2% of all churches nationwide, on an average Sunday, as we said, 20% of all worshipers will attend a ranch. The ranch represents a major shift from a mansion. A church that wants to grow into a ranch will need to completely rethink the way they operate and make substantial changes. Typically, a mansion exists in one location. While there is one head of operations, most of those operations take place within the confines of that one large structure. It may have several households, a few cats and a couple nice collies, perhaps a generous garden out back, and it still happens under the watchful eye of one senior pastor and staff of the one site. The ranch is more likely to be spread out. A majority of the ministry will take place at the ranch house, the main sanctuary, and the offices. But a portion of the operation may take place in other buildings, and some even at other locations. The rancher pastor will understand that his staff has now become hierarchical and deployed. The rancher relates to a team of foremen who oversee the on and off campus operations. For example, the youth center may operate in a large house near the high school. The senior center may be near the mall. The preschool may be on a campus but in an entirely isolated location. The rancher might have a head foreman, a COO, a chuck wagon operator, the CFO, who have large responsibilities for the whole operation. But the rancher pastor will have a visionary oversight of everything. It is difficult to prepare a new senior pastor for this role. They must have all the ministry tools required to be the leader of a mansion, and then acquire a few more. The effectiveness of their ministry will depend on the understanding that they cannot continue to personally be involved in most aspects of the ministry. The good rancher pastor knows that he or she is not personally taking care of a cat, a collie, a garden, a house, or a mansion, though all those entities may exist within the ranch. He or she must make the leap to a new leadership role to be a rancher. There's a loss of closeness with a large percentage of the congregation. The rancher pastor has to build close relationships with key leaders and key staff leaders. But the demands of leading these staff mean the loss of closeness with the broader population of the church. Another frustration for the senior pastor is the volunteers and staff who do not understand that this is a ranch and must be operated like a ranch. Staff who are developed within the ranch are more likely to understand how it works. But staff and volunteers who have come to the ranch from smaller settings may not understand the nature of the ranch. Their ministry areas may be cats and collies, but they exist within the ranch, and their connection to the ranch is paramount. People who join a ranch will often join a small group within it. There may be a dozen cats, small weekly Bible studies on and off campus, spiritual growth groups, and specific mission support groups. There may be a few collies, that large adult Sunday morning class, or the 75-voice chancel choir. There are many gardens in age-level ministries, People connect with one another, make friends, and build relationships within these areas. The pastor understands that the ranch hands and the foreman really keep the organization alive and growing. The senior pastor's ability to lead, to earn the admiration and loyalty of the staff and leaders, is critical to the success of the whole ministry. Some churches that have grown well to this size and thrived with volunteer lay leadership when smaller may falter badly, experience conflict within leadership, and experience severe splits because the laity are unable to make the shift to a staff-led church. Yet, few laity will be willing to devote the 40 to 60 hours of work it now takes to lead the various ministries. The leap from the mansion to the ranch is a quantum leap. The operating structure of the church must change, becoming at once more detailed and also more streamlined. Few pastors have both the communication skills and the administrative skills to handle this larger church. Typically, the church grows to this size with one visionary, charismatic, well-organized pastor who serves a very long ministry. When this pastor leaves the church, it is highly likely that the next pastor will not have sufficient skills to maintain the ranch, partly because nothing has prepared them for the immensity of the job, partly because all the successful methods that worked in a last church they served will not work in the ranch. Typically, the new minister comes from a situation that is much smaller, but at which they have excelled. There is no guarantee that such knowledge will translate into success at this level. Many churches are now learning to look for a pastor who has served on a large church team with another capable rancher. This pastor is much more likely to understand the full spectrum of responsibilities now thrust upon them and have experience with programs and administration that will work in the ranch setting. Is your church a ranch? I hope you're finding these videos valuable, and I do hope you'll subscribe to my channel. You can click that red button down there at the bottom. Or if you have questions or comments, you can send them to me at steve@revstevep.com. Next week, we will finish this series on church sizes with a look at the independent nation, a very large church. See you next week on Coffee with Coach.